This is Jonathan Adler. We're in for Warriors, California for the Nationalist Report. I'm checking out these houses here to see how many look like they're not occupied. Okay, so as you can see, it's still before 10:30, and I'm observing these houses. This is in West Los Angeles. You can see another one here. This one's all dark. And one across the street here is dark. So I'm trying to research how many of these are owned by foreign owners, absentee owners that don't actually live in the houses most of the year. There are a large number of houses that are absentee owned in Los Angeles. Many of these are owned by Chinese that don't live here. Here's another one that looks like it's empty. So these are very expensive houses. The problem is speculators, foreign speculators, buy these houses and just leave them empty most of the year. And what this does is drive a lot of Americans out of Los Angeles, Southern California, so the globalists can bring in Chinese to take over the state. So we all want to be waking up to this plan. This is a major threat to the stability and sovereignty of the United States. There are some lights on some of these, but those could just be automatic lights. Like here's another one here. It's interesting. You see very little activity in any of these houses. There's another one that looks like not occupied. Another one here. There's a few lights on this one. This one's got some lights on. Now, this is Christmas week. Next 2 weeks are Christmas. Right now I'm at, let me see what the location is here. I'm at First Street and Vista. Okay, so I get some weird getting car here. Pretty strange. This one looks mostly dark. And what I was saying is, since it's Christmas season, apparently they do rent these out. They do Airbnb rentals. So it looks like there's more people living here than actually are. There's another one that looks like it's unoccupied. There's another one here, and it's only about 10:30. This whole house is empty. So pretty strange. But this is a big problem that these speculators, so-called investors, are buying up property and they just leave it empty. They use them like gold bars, apartments and houses like gold bullion, which drives people out of the city. It also puts a lot of small businesses out of business because there's not enough people that actually living here. So I'm heading over to 3rd Street now. This one's empty here. So I just saw one guy driving up with his car, but very little activity, considering there's probably about 100 houses just on this part of the street. Here's another one that's all dark. Another dark one. Nobody in this one. There's a car, but maybe they just leave it there all year. It's hard to tell what's going on here. Some Christmas lights on over here. So this one's probably occupied, but it could just be the Airbnb rental, short-term rental. So very eerie, very disturbing. There's another one that looks empty. This is a big problem, folks. It's not right that we have record homeless here and all these houses are sitting mostly empty. And this is also price fixing, that they rig prices so very few people can afford to live here. And then they just sit on these empty buildings. And then, like I said, they use mostly illegal aliens to build new buildings and renovate the old buildings. So that's another crime against Americans, middle working class Americans. Obviously, there's some rich people benefiting from this crime. Here's another dark one here. So this one's all dark here. So maybe older, there are some older retired people. But I think a lot of these are just empty. There's a chair sitting here, a chair and a table. This one looks totally dark. It's got a big bush in front of it. Doesn't say the address here. And they got a table and chair here. Interesting. See what street this is. So now I'm at 3rd Street, and I didn't know what street this is. Now I'm going to see what street this is. And then see, we have this motel here. This is a very popular part of LA, or it should be. And I see almost no rooms occupied. I say mostly empty. So this was Vista Street, Vista Street. I was just on Vista Street, starting at Beverly and Vista and ending at 3rd and Vista. Here's a Thai restaurant, and it's already closed, and it's not even 11 o'clock. If this were New York City, probably be open till midnight. But a lot of these restaurants close early because there's not enough business. Like I said, there's not that many people really living here, so they're not doing much business. There's another one that should be open in the second biggest city, but it's all closed, all empty. And as we know, most restaurants use illegals and don't hire U.S. citizens, majority. And here's this one, Park Plaza Lodge. Looks like it's mostly empty. And I talked to the staff there. They're all foreigners. For some reason, all the hotels I visit, the smaller ones are run by foreigners. Pretty interesting. Totally quiet, no activity. Today's Monday, so apparently there's very few business people staying here at this motel. I'll check another part of it here. So you can see it's all dark. Very little activity here. I'm going to take a look at the back here, see if there's anybody staying here. And here's another street with very few lights on. Okay, now here's the back. And I don't even see any lights on this motel. Interesting. So it's very interesting that we have so many empty buildings here in the second biggest city in the United States. Apparently, there's a very high vacancy rate. And as I've said on my other channel, the California Info Warrior Report, I believe this is intentional to fix prices at a very high artificial level to drive Americans out of California and replace us with foreigners, mostly Chinese and Latinos, since that will help break up the United States. And if they get enough Chinese and Latinos here, they'll vote to separate from the United States. So it's very dangerous. And look, we have a big apartment complex here called the Palazzo. And this also looks very dark. Not many people in this building. And it's a Monday. The Airbnb people usually come on the weekend, so you can see a lot less lights are on, which is indication that a lot of Airbnb people stay here and not many long-term tenants. So it's not good. And I go to businesses here and they're not doing very well. And that homeless guy, I happen to know that guy. He's a nice guy. He's an older American gentleman. And he's just sleeping right in the sidewalk while we have all these foreigners taking over all the real estate. It's pretty sad. It's not right, guys. Gotta start doing something about this. Take a little bit look at this street. What street is this? This guy's a little sketchy. Let's see what street this is. Okay, this is Fuller Street. Fuller Street. You can see this Palazzo is very dark. Apparently not many people actually stand at the Palazzo. Let me check over here. Let me take a look at these buildings here. I'm just noticing these first couple apartments look pretty dark. And it's not even 11 o'clock. So Check this out here. This one here, totally dark. What's the deal with this building here? It's the first apartment building on Fuller. That's what the address is. Can't see the address on this one. And apparently it doesn't look like anybody's living in this building. It's pretty large in the back here. So very disturbing. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap that up. That's my report on the real estate situation here in West Los Angeles. So my conclusion is, for a very desirable part of Los Angeles, very desirable part of the United States, we have an unusually large number of empty apartment buildings and houses. So I have to conclude that this does support the hypothesis that the globalist deep state are enabling foreigners to take over California and to drive Americans out. Very unfortunate situation. We should all be getting active to try to stop. See, this Palazzo is a very large apartment complex, and there's very few lights on. So definitely not sustainable. You always hear the buzzword sustainable, but in reality, all we see is huge waste of material resources just to benefit us, less than 0.1% of the population, in their quest to destroy the United States and bring in their new world order. So let's do our best to reverse this and stop the nefarious plans to break up the United States. This is Jonathan Adler reporting for the U.S. Nationalist, signing out.